Hello students. Today we're going to talk about food. Do you eat a healthy diet, do you think? I try to. Normally I eat half a grapefruit for breakfast and then some homemade wholemeal toast that's made from brown bread. For lunch, I normally have a salad or sometimes soup and a sandwich. For dinner, I eat a lot of fish, like Japanese people. Sometimes I eat meat. I eat a lot of vegetables and sometimes rice or potatoes. I really prefer potatoes because I'm British. British people love potatoes usually. Many people in this country eat too many fattening things. So if you come to visit, you will see a lot of people who are too heavy because they like white bread. They eat a lot of cereal for breakfast, and then they like hamburgers and fish and chips, and they eat too many calories. We learn about calories a little later. The government is trying to make us thinner and eat more like the Japanese, more fish and vegetables. I know the traditional diet in Japan is very healthy. It's one of the healthiest in the world. It's also delicious. Many people in Britain like Japanese food. We have many Japanese restaurants in the big cities now. But people don't like raw fish, or they're not brave enough to try it. Our fish is not as fresh as yours when it gets to the shops. When I was young, we had fish coming into every port, so it was lovely and fresh. Now, most of it goes to London first, to a big market there, and then comes out to the shops. So it can be 4 days old, so it's better cooked. We're going to read about a young couple, and they want to live a very long time. I wonder, would you like to live to be 100? Do you know anybody that old? One of my grandmothers lived to be 101. What do you think people should do to live a long and healthy life? I'm going to read about Klaus and Elvira Bonrich. And I want you to follow what I'm saying. So you read it to yourself while I'm saying it. So read and listen at the same time. Klaus Bonrich, age 33, and his wife Elvira, age 28, are a successful young couple. Klaus is a software programmer, and Elvira works in a health food shop. In many ways, their life is quite ordinary, but they have an extraordinary ambition. They want to live until they're 120. And they believe they can do this by following an American health plan called the calorie restriction diet. Klaus and Elvira eat a lot of raw food. They steam some food, but they don't fry, grill or roast anything. And there are many things they don't eat at all. There were a few words there that you might not know. Software programmer. A software programmer is someone who programs computers. On computers we have hardware, which is the machine, and the software is what you can put into it. Health food shop, where Elvira works. A health food shop is a shop that only sells very healthy things, like organic food, that's food grown without chemicals. And they sell supplements, extra vitamins and minerals. In English we say vitamins, in America they say vitamins. Calorie restriction. They're on a calorie restriction diet. Now, calories are the things in our food that give us a lot of fast release energy, and they mostly come from things like sugar, flour in bread and cakes, and rice and things like that. So look at the questions above the story and I'll give you the answers. I'm sure you have worked it out already. What is their extraordinary ambition? They want to live until they are 120. What are their jobs? Klaus is a software programmer and Elvira works in a health food shop. What kind of food do they eat? Do they cook any of their food? They eat a lot of raw food, that means uncooked. There are many things they never eat. They steam some food. That means you put some water in a pan and then something with holes in on top to put the food in, and the steam comes off the water when it's boiled and cooks the food. They steam some food, but they don't fry, grill or roast anything. Frying, grilling and roasting needs fat, and they avoid fat. Now let's look at the chart at the top of the next page. Which words are countable? Which can you count individually? For example, there are 12 people in the room. You can count them. Which words are uncountable? That means you can measure them or weigh them, but you can't count them individually, like water and rice. I suppose you could count rice, but it would take a very long time. So look at those and see if you can work out which group is which. So the ones on the left, apples, carrots, etc., are countable. The ones on the right are uncountable. It may seem a little bit confusing that fish and fruit are in the uncountable box. But sometimes when we use them to mean all fish or all fruit, we use them in an uncountable way. The countable nouns we can use in a plural form. That means when there is more than one of them, we put an S or sometimes an ES on the end. Uncountable ones we do not use in a plural form. We can count things like cups, girls, apples, eggs and kilos, but we can't count water, rice, coffee, music and money. Although you can count yen, dollars and pounds sterling. We can say 3 cups, 2 girls, 10 kilos. But we can't say 2 waters, 3 musics or 1 money. But we can say 3 cups of coffee, 2 kilos of rice, 6 pieces of music. So if you're using a countable noun with the uncountable, you can treat them as countable. So, how much money do you have on you? Or we could say, how many dollars do you have in your pocket? We say how much coffee is there in the jar, but we can say I don't drink many cups of coffee or even coffees, because we mean cups of coffee and our listener will understand. If we say or even just mean cups of coffee, it is countable, because cups are countable. Now look at exercise 3. Look at the gaps and see which words from the box in exercise 2 fit in which spaces. We'll go through it together in about 3 minutes. Look at the words in bold too when you're doing it. If you have done any work on this before, they may help you. Did you get some of those? Now let's listen to the audio and see if you can fill in the others and see if the ones you have written are correct.
Unit 4, Tape Script 4.1. Questions about the diet. 1.
Today, we are talking to a couple who are following the calorie restriction diet. So, my first question is, do you eat any meat?
No, we don't eat any meat at all, but we eat some fish.
2.
How much fish do you eat?
We eat a little white fish, but we love shellfish, so we eat a lot of prawns.
3.
Do you eat much fruit?
Oh yes, we eat a lot of fresh fruit, apples and grapes, well, everything.
4.
And do you eat many vegetables?
Yes, of course. We eat lots of raw vegetables.
5.
Don't you cook any vegetables at all?
We cook some. Sometimes we steam a few carrots and a little broccoli.
6.
And what do you drink?
Well, we don't drink any tea or coffee, and naturally there's no alcohol in our diet, but we do drink a lot of orange juice.
7.
How many calories do you have every day?
About 1,500.
That's about 1,000 fewer than most people.
Right. Now, we'll listen again, and please look at the script on the screen at the same time. And I hope you'll get all the answers clearly this time.
Unit 4, Tape Script 4.1. Questions about the diet. 1.
Today, we are talking to a couple who are following the calorie restriction diet. So, my first question is, do you eat any meat?
No, we don't eat any meat at all, but we eat some fish.
2.
How much fish do you eat?
We eat a little white fish, but we love shellfish, so we eat a lot of prawns.
3.
Do you eat much fruit?
Oh yes, we eat a lot of fresh fruit, apples and grapes, well, everything.
4.
And do you eat many vegetables?
Yes, of course. We eat lots of raw vegetables.
5.
Don't you cook any vegetables at all?
We cook some. Sometimes we steam a few carrots and a little broccoli.
6.
And what do you drink?
Well, we don't drink any tea or coffee, and naturally there's no alcohol in our diet, but we do drink a lot of orange juice.
7.
How many calories do you have every day?
About 1,500.
That's about 1,000 fewer than most people.
So, Elvira and Klaus are what we call pescatarians. They eat fish, but they don't eat meat. There are people in this country who don't eat either meat or fish. They are called vegetarians, but they will eat things that come from animals like eggs and milk and cheese. There's yet another group of people called vegans, and they won't eat anything from animals at all. So they get their protein from nuts and beans and things like that. Now look at the grammar spot at the top of the page. In 1, they ask you to say which box of expressions of quantity go with plural countable nouns and which go with uncountable nouns and which can be used with both. I'll give you 3 minutes to look at that. Look back at exercise 3 and look at the expressions in bold letters. That will help you. So I'll give you the answers. A is uncountable. B is plural countable nouns. And C is both. Did you get all those? Now we'll look at a little bit more. We have seen that countable nouns can be singular or plural. This cup is full. These cups are empty. Notice I put an S on the end of the plural. These cups are empty. Uncountable nouns can only be singular. The water is cold. The weather was terrible. Now we'll look at much and many. Much and many are not normally used with positive statements. Although we do use many in more formal English, especially when it's written. So older people like me would use many much more than younger people because we speak more formal English. However, we do use them with questions and negatives. Look at the notes here. We use much with uncountable nouns and questions and negatives. For example, how much money have you got? There isn't much milk left. How much does this hat cost? Meaning how much money. How much does this hat cost? We use many with countable nouns in questions and negatives. How many people were at the party? I didn't take many photos on holiday. Do you have many friends overseas? There aren't many flowers in the garden. Now we'll look at some and any. Some is used in positive sentences. For example, I'd like some sugar. Can you think of some more examples? Any is used in questions and negatives. Is there any sugar in this tea? Have you got any brothers and sisters? The negatives, we don't have any washing up liquid. I didn't buy any apples. We use some in questions that are requests or offers. Can I have some cake? That's a request. Would you like some tea? That's an offer. Try and think of some more examples of those. If you think of examples that relate to you, it helps you to remember them. The rules are the same for someone, anything, anybody, somewhere, and words like that. I've got something for you. It's a positive statement. Hello, is anybody there? A question. There isn't anywhere to go in my town. A negative statement. Then we have a few and a little. We use a few with countable nouns. For example, there are a few biscuits left, but not many. We use a little with uncountable nouns. I only have a little time. Then two useful little expressions, a lot or lots of. We can use them with both, but they are less formal. So it's best to avoid using them in formal writing, but you can use them when you're speaking. For example, there's lots of butter. That's uncountable. I've got lots of friends. Countable. A lot or lots of can be used in questions and negatives as well. Are there lots of tourists in your country? There isn't a lot of butter, but there's enough. I hope you were able to follow those. Look at them again at home and try practicing them with your friends. Now I'm going to tell you about articles. Those little words, a, an and the, that often come before nouns. They are very difficult for Japanese students, but I am going to teach you the basic rules to help you to remember. Now, sometimes people will understand what you mean if you forget to use them, but sometimes they are very important for the meaning of your sentence. So, you need to try hard to get them right. We'll look at a and an first of all. They are both used for the same thing, but we use an in front of vowels because it makes them easier to say. So an apple, an orange, an elephant. Sometimes we use them with H as well. An hotel. It's easier to say than a hotel. And so on. So in front of A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes H, and sometimes Y, we use an, just to make it easier to say. Otherwise we use a. When do we use those indefinite articles? We use them when we are talking about something for the first time, or maybe it's the first time but the person you're talking to knows which one you're talking about. Remember, we use a or an for one. You cannot use it for a plural. Then you'd probably use some. So, if you're telling somebody about your animals, you might say, we have a cat and a dog. That's the first time you have mentioned them. So you use a. We also use the indefinite article when we're talking about somebody's profession, what they do for a job. For example, I am a teacher, a teacher. My friend is an architect, an architect, because it's before an A. The second way we use a or an is with expressions of quantity. For example, a pair of trousers, a pair of trousers. A little money, I have a little money in my bag. A couple of apples. A few flowers. I put a few flowers in a vase. So that's expressions of quantity. We also use a or an with expressions of frequency. Frequency means how often something happens. Once a day, 3 times a day, 6 times a year. I eat potatoes probably 4 times a week. We also use them in exclamations with what and a count noun. So, what a lovely day. People are always talking about the weather here. What a pity when something goes wrong. And that sort of thing. So that's when you use a. It sounds very strange if you forget. Now we'll look at the definite article, the. We use the definite article with singular and plural nouns, with count nouns and uncount nouns, or countable I prefer, sounds better English, when both the speaker and the listener know which noun you're talking about. So, if you have said, I have a cat and a dog, the next time you mention them, you can say the cat. The cat is 4 years old. The dog is only a puppy. That's a very young dog. I'm going to the supermarket. If you haven't mentioned the supermarket before, either it's the one nearest to you, or it's the one that you always go to and the person you have told knows that. I might say to my husband or a friend, I'm going to the supermarket. Do you want anything? That would mean either I was going to the supermarket they know about, or just any supermarket nearby. It's not important. But that is the type of shop you're going to, so they will know what sort of thing you would buy there if they wanted something. We also use the definite article with some names. Now, normally with names we don't use an article. I would not put the in front of a person's name. But I do if I'm talking about their position. So I would talk about the Prime Minister or the chairman of our company, because it's not really a name, it describes what they do. Also, we talk about the Atlantic Ocean. If we are talking about a geographical feature, and like an ocean or a river or something like that, we put a definite article in front of it. So the Atlantic Ocean. Even if we don't say ocean, it's understood, so we would still say the Atlantic. The Thames, meaning the Thames River, which runs through London. Or the River Thames, you can say it either way. For buildings like museums, we'd say the British Museum. For hotels, the Ritz or the Hilton, meaning the Ritz Hotel or the Hilton Hotel. So you don't always have to say the word afterwards if it is well known. Everybody knows that the Hilton is a chain of hotels. For newspapers, a famous newspaper in Britain is The Times. We always say The Times, not just Times, because Times alone would mean a time in history. Names of countries normally do not have an article. So we just say, I'm going to Japan, or I'm studying in England or Wales, where we are. But if the name of a country is a description of its organisation or its type of government, then we use the. So the United Kingdom or the UK, the United States of America, the United Emirates. We use the with states, kingdom and emirates. We also often use it with isles or islands, the British Isles. We usually use the if there is only one of something, like the sun or the moon. In Britain, we refer to the Queen because everybody will know we are referring to our Queen. If we were referring to your Queen, we would say the Japanese Queen. There's only one of her. If there's yes, we talk about the government when we're referring to our own government or the government of the country we are in. We also use the with superlatives. That means the biggest or the best of something. So, he's the richest man in the world, for example. Or Jane's the oldest student in her class. I'm the tallest person at our school. With superlatives, you can have more than one. So you can use it with plurals. For example, the strawberries in our local farm shop are the tastiest in the area. We don't always use an article though. Before plural and uncountable nouns, when we're talking about things in general, we do not use an article. For example, I like potatoes. They're not any particular potatoes, I just like potatoes in general. Milk is good for you. So milk in general is good for you. We also don't use an article, as I said before, with countries, towns, streets, languages, magazines. Remember, we do with newspapers, but not with magazines. Meals, airports, stations, and mountains. Now remember, I said with geographical features like oceans and rivers, we do use the definite article, but with mountains we don't. We do with mountain ranges, so the Alps, the Himalayas, and so on, but not with individual mountains. So we just say Mount Snowdon, or just Snowdon, for our highest mountain in Wales. or Fuji or Mount Fuji. Not the Mount or not the Fuji. Now, meals. Yes, I had lunch with John. Or I ate porridge for breakfast. I bought Cosmopolitan, that's a magazine, at Victoria Station. No the with magazines or with stations. We do use articles with some place names, as I said, if they describe the form of government or the form of organisation, but not with others. We don't use an article with some forms of transport and places like home. We say at home, not at the home. We say at school, at university. We say in bed, I'm in bed, or I'm going to bed. We say I'm at work, or I'm going to work. With transport, we say I'm going to work by car or by bus or by train. I'm going on holiday by plane. I'm going to the shops on foot. That means I'm walking. Going on foot means you're walking. So, I was at home yesterday evening when an old friend rang. Notice I used an in front of old friend because I have many friends. I used an because it's in front of a vowel, old. We also use them with expressions like what beautiful weather, what loud music. Now, what do you think is the difference between what a lovely day and what beautiful weather is? What a lovely day is countable, so a day. What beautiful weather? No article because weather is uncountable. What loud music? Music is uncountable. So no article with what plus uncountable noun. But note, in the phrase go home, there is no article and no preposition either. I went home early, for example. Or I'm going home late tonight. Right, I hope you could follow that. There are rules in all the textbooks about articles, so I hope you will practice using them. It's much better to practice them as early as possible so you get into the habit of using them. Goodbye for now.